A major event happening in the US this decade is the digitization of medical records. This action is intended to make it easier for healthcare providers and for patients to record and share information. In the old system, a patient was usually responsible for giving their medical information to each new doctor they visited, which took a lot of time and involved repeating the same things over and over again. So now, the hope is that the healthcare industry will become just as digitally connected as the rest of the world. In the last 10 years, over 90% of American hospitals have been computerized. More than half of Americans have their medical information in a software system called Epic. The first wave of Epic's implementation took place in a large hospital network in New England in 2015. It took about 2 months to implement. First, medical personnel had to take a training course to learn how to use the software. Then they had to spend some time taking fewer patients than usual while integrating the software into their regular activities. 70,000 people within this hospital network had to learn how to use Epic for their regular tasks. The main attraction of Epic is that it allows medical personnel to do all of their regular tasks in just one computer program. For example, they can record their notes, they can send prescriptions to pharmacies, they can order tests for a patient, they can schedule surgeries, and lots of other things. Patients can also use Epic to look at their own records. So in 2015, when Epic started to be implemented, the possibility of working more efficiently and using less paper was really exciting. 3 years later, however, it's not clear if this software is doing what it's supposed to do. Instead of reducing work for medical personnel, Epic might be increasing it. A study in 2016 found that for every hour a doctor spent face-to-face with patients, he spent 2 hours doing computer work. When in the examination room with a patient, doctors spend half of their time looking at their screen instead of looking at the patient. Another recent study found that the workday for family physicians has gotten longer, stretching to 11.5 hours. Researchers think that this is due to the extra time physicians now have to spend on computer tasks. Here's one example of a task that has become more complicated due to digitization. Every patient in their records has a problem list of their active medical issues. For example, the patient has diabetes or the patient is anemic. That would be in the problem list. When medical staff had to write the problem list by hand, then their notes were very short and clear. But now that it's possible to type in the information, medical staff tend to copy and paste in whole reports that might be several pages long. Also, many different people contribute to the problem list, maybe a doctor and a couple of nurses and then a specialist, and that can result in the repetition of the same information. That creates a really long file, and a doctor who has to see 20 patients each day doesn't have time to read through these long files. Both longer workdays and more time spent using computers are thought to contribute to higher rates of burnout among doctors. Burnout is generally quite high in the medical profession compared to other professions due to the intense nature of the work. However, burnout rates vary depending on the specialty. Surgeons tend to have a lower rate of burnout, while emergency physicians have a higher rate. This is a little strange, isn't it? Well, these inconsistencies started to make sense when a team of researchers at the Mayo Clinic discovered that burnout rates correlated closely with how much time people spent working on a computer. Surgeons don't spend very much time using computers, but emergency physicians do. The effects of digitization seem to be spreading throughout the healthcare fields. It turns out that nobody likes looking at a screen more than they have to for work. And patients feel like they get better care when their doctor can look them in the eye and have a conversation with them instead of constantly typing. There are two possible solutions for the rise in burnout rates due to digitization of medical records. One is to continue working to improve medical records software while taking feedback from the people who use it. This is a pretty obvious solution, and Epic is certainly working to make its software better all the time. Another solution is for doctors to have a trained assistant called a medical scribe who can check things on the computer and take notes while the doctor interacts with the patient. This system often makes the experience more pleasant for both the doctor and the patient because they get to have an in-person interaction and sort of quality time together. So in the next few years, as we gather more data on the impact of digitizing medical records, we will be better able to decide which system works best. Thank you very much.